Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today for our second day of Silver Week. We have GR Silver presenting, which I'm really excited about. Marcio is here with me. So just before we get started, as always, the presentation will contain forward-looking statements. If you'd like to know more about those, you can find them on the company's disclosure on their website. And there will be a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. Many of you do know GR Silver already, but we are going to have a run through of the full presentation before we get into the very exciting new drill results that came out this morning. So with that out of the way, I'd like to introduce CEO Marcio Fonseca, and he's going to tell us all about GR Silver and what's new and exciting.
Thank you. Thanks, Adelaide Capital, for the opportunity to come back and continue to present our successful story here in the Rosario Mining District, Sinaloa, Mexico, where we are building a silver gold mining company. So this slide is the most important slide to give to the audience an idea about what's happening with this company. GR Silver Mining today is the first company ever to control three key assets in the district: the Plomosa Silver Project on the left, the San Marcial Project here in the mid-center, and the Trinidad, which is a past producer gold mine. Nobody has ever controlled these three assets under the same ownership. So today you have two concessions, Plomosas and Trinidad, which were past producers. We have a 43-101 at San Marcial with 39 million ounces, indicated inferred, potentially open pit silver. And we are doing two resource estimations, one at the Plomosas mine area, and other at the San Juan. A lot of opportunities to increase the resource, adding ounces to the existing 39 at San Marcial in the next 30 to 60 days. And today, we control close to 75 kilometers of structures controlling silver and gold old workings veins. We have visited and sampled 24 of those old workings, and we believe there can be future sites for drilling. So we are very excited with all that's happening and the ability to be in this amazing position in the mining space in the Rosario Mining District. It's a famous district in Mexico, where the Rosario mine, that's not far away from here, produced a lot of million ounces of gold and silver. To give a bit of idea about the location, is on the southeast border of the Sinaloa state, close to Nayarit. A lot of infrastructure is part of the business to acquire projects that do not have much risk. Infrastructure is key for mining development. It's a well-established mining district. You can see here that the orange concessions, or light yellow, are the ones we had until last month, and the dark gray is what we are acquiring, expecting to close by mid-end of March this year. We have signed all the documents. Now we have just formalities to really finalize the final transfers of ownership. We are increasing the portfolio in a very sizable way. More than 1,000 square kilometers to be controlled by this company in this part of Mexico. You can see other peers, the size of their concessions, and you can see how sizable we have. But more important, we are working this year in this corner here, in the Plomosa, San Marcial, and La Trinidad, because with the acquisition, we control the gap between these two projects, controlling the whole trend in that area. So what's happening now? We are in process working with 10,000 meters of core drilling, 5 drill rigs inside the Plomosas project, drilling 2 areas, the Plomosas mine and the San Juan. Why? Because we want to complete the resource here and add it to the future expansion of the resource at San Marcial, where we have already 39 million ounces. So this company is not early stage exploration. We are more into resource expansion, future development. That's what we named this company as a junior mining company. And it's likely that by the second half of this year, we are going to engage some engineers. Some of them have visited the project already, to complete a PEA, which might integrate all these 2 or 3 projects in just one single, much larger project. Continue the discussion about why is important this acquisition. We are close to celebrate 1 year of the acquisition of the Plomosa Silver Project. 1 year ago, we were invited by the seller, was First Majestic, to buy the Plomosas because We have been very successful with the expansion of resources at San Marcial. When we visit Plomosas, we identified an old lead and zinc mine and one vein, San Juan. You can see here the Plomosas mine area in the San Juan. So we have identified today at least 9 structures inside Plomosas which can carry some quartz veins with silver and gold, close to some old mines. On top, so we have 2 areas on the resource estimation and 7 veins that we still need to drill and bring more results. The news release today, which I'm very excited and I'm going to discuss about, is particularly in this area, San Juan and San Francisco. We have released that we are expanding the trend in this direction to the south. And why this is important? Because before there was a border here of 2 concessions. Today, we are going to acquire this in the middle. And we know that there's a silver gold mine, old mine here. And then we can go from the 2 kilometers that we know already, getting close to 4 kilometers here. That's important. And San Juan, you are going to see further in the presentation, is becoming more and more a silver gold rich epithermal system, which is very important for the company. Let's talk about the Plomosas mine area. Again, is one of the 2 areas that we are doing the resource estimation. So we are going to have 2 areas bringing ounces to the company. When we acquired the Plomosa Silver project, we came across a lot of data about an underground mine that was operated by Grupo Mexico. Here's the entrance of the mine. They mined pretty much the lead and zinc, some silver and gold that was associated with the lead and zinc. After 1 year of hard work, 20 geologists on site and working with all the drill rigs, we now believe that this is a big system. You can see the whole mountain here. And all these lines, the red and the blue, they represent different faults, structures, and they have different angles. The red are more shallow dipping, and the blue are steep, almost vertical. And they have different meaning in geology and also to host different type of mineralization. More recently, we put a news release of 83 meters at 2 grams per ton related to this fault here, that steep fault, deep inside the mine, which shows to us that there is a potential for intrusives, which can bring gold and copper as well. But do not misunderstand, silver is the core business of the company, but we are more delighted to find more high-grade material close to our projects or at our projects. So why the Plomosas mine area is becoming very important here? On slide 7 here, I'm showing 2 geophysical data that we have reprocessed and used external independent geophysicists to define new anomalies. The purple circle, again, is where we are doing the resource estimation, one of them, Plomosas mine area. All these green circles are very close to the area of the resource, and they represent geophysical anomalies that could be very close related to presence of sulfides. And we know by now that silver and gold are very close to areas where we have accumulation of sulfides. So we can have a lot of opportunities in 2021 to go drilling outside of the resource area to find more high-grade material and new discoveries. So slide number 8, it's a very important milestone for this company because we are the first company to start publishing 3D models. We put all these 500 drill holes because I forgot to mention earlier, when we bought the property, we came across a database and never released the 563 drill holes, surface and underground. We are validating them. We have validated and released close to 300. We have close to 260 still to look, but we are drilling as well. We drill new areas along this strike and down deep because we have an underground mine with good conditions. For example, we put a drill hole here at the bottom of the mine, and we intersect the 83 meters at 2.5 grams per ton. Low silver, but it's highly attractive for future mine operations because of the thickness and the grade. But at the same time, assaying and validation recent and historic holes, we came across with narrow, high-grade silver outside of the common area that the Grupo Mexico mined. As you can see here, the red figure here is the shallow dipping fault. So we will continue to integrate all these holes, new holes and historic holes, in the resource estimation for this Plomosas mine area in the next 30 to 60 days. Moving on to the second area, that's the San Juan. This area is very close to the Plomosas mine, the previous slide, only 2.5 kilometers, again, inside the same project, the Plomosa Silver project, fully permitted with all the infrastructure, roads, power, and we have the camp here nearby. Great conditions for future development. 1 year ago, we thought would be just one vein, 400 meters long. Today, we believe the system here is 2 kilometers and is continuing to expand because the news release today is San Francisco and more drill holes at San Juan. You can see on this slide that we have more than kilos of silver in some narrow zones, silver predominant. San Juan is different than the Plomosa's mine area because the veins look like they are on the upper portion of a potential epithermal system, and we have more opportunities to continue to drill deep. But we will continue to drill to the south, and we continue to drill to the north here, and we will continue to drill other veins because other than just one vein here, we have 6 veins, and some of them are related to old mines, such as this one, La Colorada, that was a gold mine, and this one, La Odisea, that was a silver mine. So we are very excited about this San Juan because we believe it's going to play a very important role in the upcoming resource estimation and adding ounces for the company. And then we have the first project that we acquired in 2018, the San Marcial, which we were very excited at that time because we realized that this project, which is 5 kilometers from Plomosas, is very attractive because the mineralization, daylight, gets to the surface. And all the drill holes are shallow, but they show 15, 20 meters wide. And some of the trenches are showing 56 meters wide zone with attractive grades for potential open pit. What we did, we spent some capital, we raised some capital last year. We excavate a tunnel to see the mineralization below the surface. And we are very excited to see that we have high-grade situations that we believe we can continue to drill in the next 3 to 6 months. So what's going to happen in this company is a lot of drilling for the resource. We are going to do a resource estimation for this Plomosa Silver project, and we'll continue to drill at San Marcial and continue to drill at the Plomosas in the other targets. And late this year, likely to do a PEA. So why we are going to drill at San Marcial underground, and later in the year, we can do some drilling on the surface. We believe there are geochemical anomalies, lead and zinc, which is very close to the silver mineralization in the district, outside of the resource area. We have probably close to 14 areas inside the San Marcial that we want to drill very soon, and we are planning to do that. So capital structure, for those who are not familiar, is still tight, 129 million shares outstanding. Cash position close to 5 million Canadian dollars. The warrants are in the money and they're expiring June. We very likely to have them exercised and bring $5.6 million to the company. This capital can fully fund the company for what we are doing. The shareholders, you can see the distribution here. First Majestic became the shareholder for the transaction last year. It's a very friendly relationship. And management used to be the largest shareholder, means a lot of skin in the game, investment, cash, invest in the company. Funds in this company are Mackenzie, Sprott, and other European funds like Earth Resources and other Swiss-based funds. So it's a good shareholder base that supports the business. And you can see it on the right side, the evolution of the market cap of the company post the Plomosa's acquisition last year, and the volume that has been very material for a company so young. We are only 2.5 years old. It's important to talk about the management. We are not really newbies in Mexico. We've been doing business in Mexico for all these companies at the bottom here, banks, large mining companies. So myself, I was heavily involved in the process for the successful transaction to sell Silvercrest Mines to First Majestic and the spin-off to Silvercrest Metals. Came back to Mexico and put a team together. Today we have 20 geologists. All the top executives of this company are fluent in Spanish. And we recently hired Honza Catchpole that came from Tec Cominco, PhD in large silver gold mining districts in Peru, Latin America. The board, you can see the names, former chairman of successful story today, that's Meg Silva, Laura Diaz, the former general director of mines, Eric Zonshorp, well-known top mining analyst in the Canadian equity markets. So a lot of people here who have done or who is doing a successful mining business, and with experience to move this company to another level. We believe today, even today, with a fantastic news release. We released the news release today was 2.5 meters with more than 2 kilos per ton of silver, with an interval of 1 meter with more than 5 kilos per ton of silver. We believe when we look the last 3 years and we do some analysis about enterprise value per ounce, we are still trading at relatively or attractive discount to other peers. Let's look, for example, the global resources. Indicated, we have 30 million ounces, 43-101 compliant today. The average valuation for measuring indicated, looking at the peers, is $4.30. So you have 30 million ounces. We have a market cap today of less than 100 million. So $4.30 multiplied by 30, you can see the number here. And not even consider the potential additional ounces that we are expecting to bring the next 30, 60 days. So that's why I believe it's an opportunity among all the silver companies exploring, but with resource, moving very quick to development, that this company has a lot of upside. So this is GR Silver Mining. You can see all the contacts here, and feel free to contact us on the Facebook and Twitter, and you have the phone numbers and general information email here. Thank you very much. GR Silver, back to you.
Thanks, Marcio. That was really a great overview. As a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. Marcio, I'm going to get you to go back to the slide where you're connecting the 3 properties that have never been connected before, because I have some questions. So just talking about this, I know you're really excited about this opportunity and putting this whole land package together. Would you compare this to any other silver trends out there?
In size geology, means the rocks and the styles of mineralization. I feel very comfortable to compare this today with the San Dimas, which produced 10 million ounces of gold, more than 600 million ounces of silver. And San Dimas is completely controlled by First Majestic today. They bought Primero Mining probably more than 1 year ago. And today we control all the 3-4 areas here. So that's why I believe we have the size, the geology that's very similar to that district.
Okay, great. And then, so the results that you put out today over in the San Juan area?
Yes, that's right. If you don't mind, I'll move this to this slide here. You can see, hope you can see that the San Juan is just here on this circle. That's the second area. We have 2 areas. We have some historical holes, but we have 2 drill rigs here and 3 drill rigs over here. And the San Francisco that we announced today as well is to the south.
When do you expect that you'll be drilling in between those 2 concessions?
As soon as I complete the acquisition, which is scheduled by March 31st, I'm heading to Mexico very soon. I might close earlier. We are going to look at to put some drill holes in this gap here between these 2 areas. But it's important for the audience to know that the transaction took longer, more than 1 year to buy this, because we are doing due diligence. Means the geologists were visiting all the showings inside this area. And we took samples here as well on the surface.
And are you permitted to drill in that area, or will you have to apply for permits?
This is a past producer, so today we don't have the permits to drill here, but it's not going to be a long time because of the current status of this company, and also because we have the permit to drill here, and we have the permit to drill here. The Plomosas and San Marcial both are permits. And one key point for the permits to have the agreements with the ejido, the land owners, and you have the agreements with the ejido, the land owners in this area here. So it's important for the audience to know that we are not arriving here today. This is part of a solid business. Management and key shareholders have been working in the district in different roles for more than 15 years. That's why we spot the opportunity to consolidate. And we know all the steps in Mexico very well to get the business going and without major hiccups.
And how are your relations with the community?
Very good. We are the largest employer in this area today. This company, other than the 20 geologists, we have close to 80 people working. We have a program in place to train them to be drillers, to be underground miners, to be samplers, field workers, and so it's a super friendly relationship. We have all the agreements in place, and of course, there are some payments that we need to make every year, and we are in compliance with those payments.
And we were speaking earlier about some of the issues that Mexico is having right now with power outages. Is this region affected at all?
The Plomosas project has a power line as high voltage that comes from the coast. So far, I haven't heard anything, neither been notified. That's why it makes very attractive in future development. You don't need to build a brand new power line and go through a process to get approval from 10 group of communities. The Trinidad as well is a past producer, is under reclamation, is responsibility of the vendor to finalize the closure and reclamation, has a power line as well. In Mexico, it's very common when you have thunderstorms or hurricanes to shut down. But I have not heard so far any impact for us.
Okay. And hurricane season's not till when? October, November?
It's probably the second half, probably by end of August, early September. It's a hit and miss. You know what I mean? Now depend where do they go.
Yeah. Okay, I have some audience questions. So what is the total cost per meter of drilling?
So today we are probably working in the range 110, 115 US dollars. We believe we are going to decrease this because of the way we are getting more local people and reducing people coming from different areas. But that includes the assays as well, okay?
Okay. And when talking about the updated resource, how many ounces do you think that you'll be adding there? Have you been guiding the market at all? Or what do you think the expectation out there is?
I'll give some reference about dimensions which can help everybody. This area, San Juan, is 500 meters long. The drill holes drilled no more than 250 meters below the surface. We have 39 million ounces, 43 non-compliant indicated inferred. The Plomosas area that you see here on the right, it's 600 meters long. The first 100 meters were mined, but the remaining 200 meters still are mined, and we are working with drill holes on that. The San Juan vein only is 400 meters long. So we are working a range, probably adding altogether these two areas here, plus some extensions, from 40 to 60 million ounces of silver altogether, trying to achieve as a potential target in the whole portfolio before the end of the year, 100 million ounces of silver.
Okay. How much does it cost to keep La Trinidad in good standing? Do you intend to keep the whole concession, or will you pare it down?
Yeah, it's a very good question. What's the transaction? The transaction, there's no shares to be issued, so it's not dilutive. We are going to grant a royalty to the vendor, that's Mako Mining. They shut down the Trinidad, they operate in Nicaragua now. And we are going to assume the tax payments related to the concessions. La Trinidad has an outstanding payment to the Mexican government, which we don't need to pay at the closing. We believe we can refinance and reduce that. But the value that we validated during the due diligence is 3.5 million US dollars for the La Trinidad. There are many evidences in the past in Mexico that you can make a down payment of probably 20% of the value and refinance the next. But like you said, this opens up a very great opportunity for this company, because not sure that everybody is aware, but the Mexican government placed a moratorium in new concessions. They are not issuing new concessions in Mexico. So this can create optionality for investors, because in the near future, we can even spin off some of these concessions to other companies, those who are not core, okay? And create new companies, might be the case.
Okay, then I have some questions just on your development strategy. So is your strategy to keep adding ounces and keep building resources, or do you want to put this into production as soon as possible?
We together, I mean, myself, management, shareholder, and the board, and all key investors believe the first and most important point is to create a critical mass, a resource size. And then that critical size where the most attractive resource sits is going to define where to put a plant, but the infrastructure is there. But to do a plant in all these aspects, we need to do what we plan to do this year, a PEA, a preliminary economic assessment, where we are going to integrate all the resources together in a single combined project. And then the decision about production is with the outcome of the PEA, and maybe a PFS, but PEA can give a good guidance on that, and the availability of capital, which the market is very attractive at the moment.
And for this combined project, would you have one centralized facility and mill, or is it large enough that you would need multiple?
Both scenarios, but at the moment, I am inclined to say that it's more like to have one mill first that can feed at least two of these areas. Like say, it's very convenient to have two resources here and have the camp here, the power line, all the tanks, everything. Maybe a mill here might be really good because it's close. And we can have a project like São Marcial. You don't need to have a plant there. You can just mine. There's a road, minor upgrades. You can just truck the material and have a plant there, close to San Juan.
Are there any plants in the area currently that you could toll at?
Yes, there are plants owned by some small Mexican families. You can see these concessions in white here. They are old, very tiny mines, 300 tons per day, 150 tons per day. This is lacking economy of scale for the size of the district. We believe a project here is for a much larger size of plant. But it's important to bring, based on your question and the audience interest, is that last year we rented one of these plants and we processed 23 tons of material from San Juan to test the ore in a circuit. And we got a commercial high-grade silver concentrate, more than 15 kilos per ton of silver in the concentrate, and was sold to Trafigura as a test. So the relationship is great with the local miners. Actually, some of them are contractors for us. So it's something that's available. Not sure if it's really where the company as a public company would be looking as a size. I think the size of a plant needs to be a bit bigger to bring value.
Mm-hmm. And with so much mining on the periphery of your properties, do you experience any artisanal minings happening on your land?
I'm very familiar with the artisanal mining because of Latin American experience and African experience when I was working for a bank, evaluating projects for investments and lending. Mexico is different. You don't have thousands of people. You might have one or two, but they are very rudimentary, and there's a better respect for the concession, the way it doesn't happen in other countries.
Got it. Okay. And then I guess just, Marcio, if you could run through your timelines again, just so we're crystal clear on what catalysts you have coming.
For sure. With 5 drill rigs, okay, 5 drill rigs on site, a lot of drilling. We still have probably 200 holes that we need to validate to release to the public. Why you have not released them? Because the validation is a very thorough process to make sure that that historic information exists. The drill hole color is there. Some of the documentation is there, and we integrate with the current drill holes. So news release flow very consistent in the next couple of weeks and months. The upcoming resource estimation, 2 resources, is going to be a single report for Plomosas, but it's important to say that we have 2 areas. That's a major catalyst. Nobody has ever put a 43-101 in this property, although it was a past producer. At São Marcial, we have the tunnel. We might drill more underground drilling. And with the acquisition that we are closing probably in 30, 45 days, we are going to start releasing more and more news on this gap here between these 2 areas. And later in the year is a big catalyst, of course, a PEA altogether.
And when are you targeting for the PEA?
More end of 2021.
Okay. And with all this drilling activity and the studies required for the PEA, are you fully funded?
The 5 million Canadian in the bank pays for all these expenses. The cash requirements for this acquisition, as you can see here, La Trinidad, might trigger some capital additional funding that we are going to discuss in the next 30, 45 days. And of course, explore any market opportunity here. But for the work that we are doing, look the cash position plus the warrants that are coming, the money, and get the cash position close to 10 million in a matter of 30, 60 days. No, I'm saying that because initially we had more than 16 million warrants exercised. 2 million of those have been exercised as already. Okay.
Got it. Okay. And then I had a couple questions on M&A. I don't know how deep you can get into this. So have any senior companies inquired about the property? Do you have CAs? Do you think First Majestic would be interested? I mean, I'll let you address as much as you can in terms of where you think or who you think potentially takes out this project or what happens to it once you build a sizable resource.
First part of the question, do we have NDAs? Yes, we do. A couple of key large silver players and big funds have signed NDAs to visit, and some of them have done very extensive visits and validation of the work that we have done in the last 12 months. About future business transactions, I think it's still too early to make any comment on that matter. I think it's more important to, regardless if you go into production or not. Today, we have executed what we told to investors when we took this company public in 2018 and created the company about the consolidation of the district. We delivered that. And this gives a lot of leverage to create a sizable project and company. And the critical mass is important because when you look how all the silver companies, Fresnillo is one of our neighbors, the largest silver producer. They have an exploration project in the area. They will need to replace the reserves that they are mining. But we need to get the resources and the PEA to create a more solid project. And maybe even go into production. And that can add value to the company. What would be the final price? If this becomes a company to be sold, let's put it that way.
So do you intend to take it into production, or it just depends on how to maximize shareholder value?
The maximization of the shareholder value is the first thing. But the board is very inclined to take this close to production, and I follow the guidance of the board, and I have nothing against. Although my background is, I have a very interesting background, geologist, engineer, and became a banker. But I've been exposed to very exploration, to feasibility studies, and large copper projects. So I'm not afraid of that, and have been in Mexico for more than 15 years. I'm Canadian, live in Canada, but I'm saying I go there often. I see that if the value is there, it's all about what's the value proposition and what's the risk. No, if there's a premium that's a no-brainer, you need to take a look at it, right? But with the portfolio that you consider today, I think we have the basis to create a very successful company here in Mexico, in this district.
And so if you continue to advance the project at the rate that you have for the past year, how long do you anticipate till you're at some sort of like production decision?
Taking into consideration that Plomosas and La Trinidad are past producers, so they have the permit and a lot of infrastructure that reduce the timeline to get things back into production. And also to get any paperwork. Most of the paperwork, the permits are in place. It's fair to think that we have the PEA this year, and if you need to do additional studies, considering that we have already underground development at Plomosas, you don't need to start the mine from scratch. 15, 24 months, it's possible to have that.
Okay, interesting. Well, I don't see any more audience questions. Is there anything that we haven't touched on, Marcio, that you wanted to discuss today?
Just to remind everybody about this slide, is something that's a very important milestone for the people directly involved in this company and shareholders, and say that we deliver this as a consolidation and how we control today 75 kilometers of trends. We know that 24 old workings are in place, and this company is not going into grassroots to spend money in trying to find anomalies. We are looking to add ounces and more ounces into our resource more and more. So that's the company, GR Silver Mining. Thank you again.
So, Marcio, are you going to call this Silver Trend Gran Rosario, or do you have a name for it yet?
And Rosario is the mining district. That's what the GNR stands for, Great Rosario. That's what's the name it came of the company, to honor the district. There are some names in Mexico for each one of these strands. I didn't put the name here just not complicate too much, but it's something to be thinking about, how to put this trend. The same way that you have the Fresnillo trend, you have the San Dimas trend. You might put this in a context.
The Marcio Fonseca trend.
Oh, no.
Well, I think it's really interesting what you've done. It's an exciting time for the company. As you mentioned, you're trading at about half the valuation of your peer group in a pretty hot silver market right now. Plus, that's, as you said, that's just based on your current resource. You have two resources coming out, a PEA. You've got a lot of growth there. So I think it's certainly an interesting time to be looking at GR Silver from an investment perspective. You've got great management team, strong backing. What am I missing?
No, you got it. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and participating in Silver Week again. And yeah, I look forward to watching you develop the project. Can't wait for the resource to come out.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity again, Deborah.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks to everyone for participating. Have a good evening.